Dispute your bills. It's a Rule 10 everyone should know. This transformative material serves to mitigate the potential economic harm ratepayers may face in transition to new rate structures. The materials will also foster customer education and outreach in order to enhance customer understanding and acceptance of new rates and available alternative energy saving programs that serve to conserve, generate, and store energy in an efficient and cost-saving manner. In 2019, PG&E customers will face time of use on-peak electricity rates over 36 cents per kilowatt hour at a time when they need it most to stay cool. So, do you forego thermal comfort for the sake of a lower utility bill? Or do you free yourself from the painful surcharge expense and high TOU rates jeopardizing your ability to stay in your home? Roughly 330,000 PG&E electric customers who use or are in danger of using in excess of 400% of baseline could be subject to the super user electric surcharge. About the tiered rate plan. The price per kilowatt hour goes up when you use up the electricity allowance for each tier. Use less overall to stay in the lower cost tiers. Tier 1, and then Tier 2, and then the high usage surcharge. Here's an example of where a customer exhausts the Tier 1 in the first 6 days and the next 19 days is in Tier 2, only to be followed by the Super User Electric Surcharge. Effective 2017, PG&E's Super User Electric Surcharge, also known as a conservation incentive, has left many homeowners with high usage wondering how they will afford the cost of home ownership with ever-increasing electricity bills. Could you imagine opening up your statement for the month and you see electric charges break down with a conservation incentive of over $380? With total electric charges over $1,000? What are your options other than the two-tiered system with a surcharge? Time of use. There are two Schedule E TOU options. Tiered option A with a baseline credit and peak hours from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. and option B with peak hours from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. on non-holiday weekends year-round. Option B is subject to an initial enrollment cap of 225,000 customers. The total energy rates for option A for summer peak are over 39 cents per kilowatt hour and off-peak over 31 cents per kilowatt hour. In the winter, the peak is over 27 cents per kilowatt hour and the off-peak over 26 cents per kilowatt hour. For option B, the total energy rates for peak are over 36 cents per kilowatt hour for the summer and for off-peak over 26 cents per kilowatt hour. For the winter, over 22 cents per kilowatt hour for peak and over 20 cents for off-peak. And if you think you are safe with SMUD, in 2015, SMUD's board approved changes to their electricity rates that are effective in 2016 and 2017. These include an increase in electricity rates for all residential and commercial customers, a new time of use rate available to a limited number of residential customers in 2016 and optional for all residential customers in 2017. In 2017, SMUD's board intends to consider making time of use rates the new standard rate for residential customers effective 2018. Can you afford to pay SMUD almost 32 cents for every kilowatt hour to cool your home in the summer?
A lot of PG&E customers are complaining their bills have doubled, even tripled recently.
Yeah, the utility is blaming the cold weather and some rate increases, but as Alan Martin explains, a watchdog group says that's not the whole story.
The bills are shocking. This PG&E customer says her bill recently jumped from $20 to $90.
I'm like, what?
A Pleasanton family just got a bill for $2,500, and posts on social media are telling the same story.
It is absolutely outrageous.
Mark Toney of the consumer advocacy group Turn says there are a couple of reasons. 3 rate increases last year totaling about 21%, colder, damper weather, and something else.
The biggest part of the increase is the gas transportation.
Toney says 2 years ago, California state utility regulators approved an 83% increase for gas transmission and storage, something that amounts to about half your monthly bill. The cost is being phased in.
The reason that people are noticing it now and didn't notice it last year is because last year we had a mild winter and the cost of the gas actually went down.
We understand that higher than expected bills are frustrating.
And some lawmakers feel the same.
I am concerned when I hear that ratepayers are getting charged that much money, that much of an increase, and they're using the same amount of gas. There's something wrong.
State Senator Jerry Hill is promising to look into the matter, but Tony says in the meantime, customers are getting burned.
There is no doubt that these pipelines need to be repaired. We agree with that. The question is, how much should the ratepayers pay when the shareholders were the ones responsible?
PG&E could not confirm that 83% increase, but it does say more rate changes could be coming in 2017. In the meantime, PG&E says people who think their bills are too high should contact the utility and ask for a bill review.
So, how are homeowners going to afford the cost of home ownership with conservation incentives in the form of energy surcharges and escalating utility expense? By foregoing thermal comfort and indoor air quality for the sake of a lower utility bill? Would you like to know the real reason why your utility bills are unusually high and ever increasing? Did you know that on April 6, 2001, Pacific Gas and Electric filed for protection under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code that permit the reorganization of their corporation? I know most of you must be thinking, how can a public utility file for bankruptcy? And even if they could, why would they? Well, first of all, Chapter 11 bankruptcy is available to every business, but prominently used by corporate entities. And PG&E is not a public-owned utility, it is an investor-owned utility with shareholders. A for-profit business organization? That's right, PG&E has shareholders that own PG&E Corporation common stock or preferred stock, an investor-owned utility. So what exactly does that mean? PG&E is an investor-owned utility with shareholders that are making a profit and a return on investment from ratepayers of electricity and natural gas, from you. An investor-owned utility, or an IOU, is a business organization that is often confused with a municipal or government utility and oftentimes called a public utility regardless of how the company is owned. As a business organization, the company is only regulated by the California Public Utility Commission. Before filing for bankruptcy, PG&E estimated that the corporation had spent $9 billion for wholesale power with no reimbursement and referred to this loss as unrecovered power costs. $9 billion in uncovered power costs is typically not the words investors like to hear at shareholder meetings, and most investors seek a return on their investment, not a loss. Allow me to give you a little California electricity industry history lesson. On September 23, 1996, Governor Pete Wilson signed legislation commonly known as AB 1890 for the deregulation of California's electricity utility industry. At the time, everyone thought that giving ratepayers a choice to select their own energy service provider would provide energy-saving opportunities for homes and businesses throughout California. So, what does all of this have to do with my sky-high utility bills? Well, the new rules of deregulation required PG&E and the other California IOUs to divest or to sell a significant part of their electricity generators to unregulated independent power producers, namely AES, Reliant, and Enron. PG&E was now mandated to purchase electricity from these new wholesalers from the very same power plants they used to own. Energy deregulation also required PG&E to freeze or cap the prices of electricity to their customers. However, deregulation did not require the IPPs to lower or cap the cost of energy sold to PG&E. In January 2001, the energy producers began shutting down the power plants to increase prices. And despite the fact that the IPPs were selling power at a premium, PG&E and the other companies still had to purchase power at a loss to serve their end-use customers. Essentially, AES, Reliant, and Enron gamed the market, and the IOUs were unable to pass the higher prices on to consumers without approval from the Public Utilities Commission. From April 2000 to December 2000, there was an 800% increase in wholesale prices. In addition, rolling blackouts adversely affected many businesses dependent upon reliable supply of electricity and inconvenienced a large number of retail consumers. A demand-supply gap was created by energy companies, mainly Enron, to create an artificial shortage. Energy traders took power plants offline for maintenance in days of peak demand to increase the price. Traders were thus able to sell power at premium prices, sometimes up to a factor of 20 times its normal value. Because the state government had a cap on retail electricity charges, this market manipulation squeezed the industry's revenue margins. Hence, Chapter 11 bankruptcy, unrecovered power costs. And now for what most of you don't know. California residential rate reform. California residential rate reform? What is that? No one told me about any rate reform. Yes, they did. Maybe you just weren't listening and just paying your bill to an investor-owned utility just like you do every month. Apparently, IOU customers that consume energy at higher levels, Tier 3 and 4, were burdened with paying for electricity at prices that were above cost of service. A new law was passed in 2013, Assembly Bill 327, to reform residential rates and require the California Public Utility Commission to implement the residential rate reform into law and establish regulatory principles. Of these principles, number 4 is very important. Rates should encourage conservation and energy efficiency. Another important principle, transitions to new rate structures should emphasize customer education and outreach that enhances customer understanding and acceptance of new rates. In July 2015, a decision provided direction to the IOUs regarding specific steps that must be taken to reform the residential rate design structure, resulting in an envisioned end state of default time of use rates and an optional two-tiered rate. Are you paying attention now? The IOUs must file a residential rate design window application no later than January 1, 2018. That proposes default time of use rate structure to begin in 2019, assuming the statutory conditions have been met. On April 13, 2004, when PG&E ended 3 years under Chapter 11 protection, the LA Times reported the fallout will add to power bills for years to come. The chickens have come home to roost. California residential rate reform. Quick facts. So why are your bills unusually high and increasing? Fact number 1. In March 1998, California began a new wholesale power market and customer choice program for electricity deregulation. Fact number 2. Electric deregulation required the 3 investor-owned utilities, including Pacific Gas and Electric, to sell off regulated power plants, leaving the state's consumers vulnerable to high-priced generators and independent power producers like Enron. Fact number 3. In January 2001, Enron created a demand-supply gap to create an artificial shortage and began shutting down power plants to increase prices. Fact number 4. When electricity wholesale prices exceeded retail prices, the IOU still had to purchase power at a loss. Fact number 5. The 3 IOUs faced severe financial problems. The worst case was PG&E, which on April 6, 2001, filed for protection under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. PG&E estimated that since June 2000, they suffered $9 billion for unrecovered wholesale power costs. Fact number 6. PG&E emerged from bankruptcy in April 2004 after paying $10.2 billion to its creditors. As part of the reorganization, PG&E's 5.1 million electricity customers had to pay above market prices for 7 years to cancel the debt. Fact number 7. In 2013, Assembly Bill 327 was enacted into law and required the reform of residential rates. Fact number 8. Rates should encourage conservation and energy efficiency. Fact number 9, the residential rate reform design structure will lead to the default time of use rates and an optional two-tiered rate to begin in 2019, assuming the statutory conditions have been met. Fact number 10, any PG&E customer who has initiated a complaint or requested an investigation shall be given an opportunity for review of his complaint. If the bill is determined to be incorrect, PG&E will issue a corrected bill, period. Get instant access now. Get the bill review process and documents that you need. You'll also get the CPUC Electric Rule 10, which details this process for disputed bills. You'll also get a letter template to dispute a billing area that you may currently have. You'll also have immediate access to DisputeYourBills.com consumer advocacy newsletter. Also available are alternative energy savings programs that serve to conserve, generate, and store energy in an efficient and cost-saving manner.